There's a couple interesting things happening in the industry. We've seen a lot of companies die in the last few years. We've seen consolidations. We've seen acquisitions. We've seen bankruptcies. There's a lot of stuff happening. There's a really great article on 3dprintingindustry.com called Drain the Moat or Grow Legs, Interoperability, Game Theory, and the Additive Manufacturing Industry's Nash Moment. That's in reference to a famous psychologist, I believe. It's pretty interesting because it's talking about it's comparing it to the industry of PCs back with Apple, IBM, Microsoft back in the day, the semiconductor industry, all that sort of stuff, and how the 3D printing industry is kind of going through its own growing phases, its own growing pains as the technology is adopted by companies or companies attempt to adopt the technology and then it doesn't work out. Anyway, it's a really good article. Great guys over there at 3D printing industry. Go check it out. For sure.
I have a question. I like boats. I love boats. There's that one clip of that giant gantry, the printer that's on its own.
Thermwood.
That's doing that big-ass boat hull, right?
Right. I think Cincinnati did one too, the BAM. But Thermwood's the one that we see the picture of everywhere. It's an entirely 3D printed boat hull.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking like a couple mil.
Oh, sure, for sure. But like, how does that work? Does it have its own wheels so that... or it's on a big, long gantry that is just so it knows how to stay straight?
Right. And then even then, it's not like it's off the shelf, right? It's completely customized for every customer, every facility. They need the size. It's usually for an application. And they're like, all right, almost a la carte. Okay, the base is this. And then if you need this, you need that. Oh, we can do that for you. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense if you're spending that much. God, that makes me think about concrete printing, actually. So I was just saying, why aren't more boats being 3D printed? And, of course, you would have to fiberglass over that and gel coat it. But I just thought how safe it would be.
There's a lot of different topics I could go into.
Yeah, I mean, think about using a gyroid infill because in between the two parts of the hull because the boat's not going to be solid.
It's like unsinkable at that point.
And I would be like, well, FDM's not watertight, but if you're using a 3-millimeter nozzle... or something, it's watertight.
Unless their welds are that bad.
So it's just interesting to think about, especially because when you actually do make these, when they make the fiberglass molds, they only last so long and they have to be thrown out and remade to make the fiberglass on. So maybe I should 3D print my own boat.
Well, and that's an interesting thing too. So this brings it full circle.
I actually could do
so
that.
Printing the boat or printing the stuff to manufacture the boat, right? Because how are boats made right now? Fiberglass on molds? Right?
Yeah.
And those molds,
mainly,
depending what they're made out of, they last a certain number of shots or uses, right? Or maybe it's one shot. They make the mold, they do the composite, they throw it in the oven, and then it's done, and the mold is done. It's one use. There's a lot of different ways.
Just skip the mold.
I don't know how exactly. Yeah, how many of these ways are used? Maybe something one of you does. If you could leave us a little comment.
Well, one of the reasons I brought it up is because I want to hear from the audience that has experience. Maybe has experience with manufacturing or in the marine industry to be like, I'll tell you exactly why.
Okay, 3D print the boat using infill, so it's practically unsinkable because you have a bunch of air chambers. Okay, secondly, you have print the shape of the boat and wrap it in fiberglass or carbon fiber and use it as a mold. And then you have make a mold for a boat.
Yeah, you could print the mold for the fiberglass.
Instead. And that's a huge application for 3D printers right now. Even consumer goods like vacuum forming, holsters, Kydex holsters for firearms and whatnot. They're pretty much always vacuum molded. They're not CNC'd, et cetera. They make the mold, they make the shape, and then
when the mold wears out, because of what the molds are usually made out of, it just all goes in the trash.
Correct.
But if you were to make a mold out of ABS or PETG or something, it would be a little bit of work, but you can recycle that a few times. And reprint the mold with your own material. But at that point, pellets are probably cheaper.
It's the longevity of the mold. So you get guys, and we've had guys call, and they are printing their molds in PLA or ABS or something like that. But they'll always say it only lasts 10 to 20 uses or maybe 50 uses, and then we got to print another one. So they call us for the high-temp materials. We want to print it in ULTEM or PEEK or something like CF PEEK. Or even CF nylon, high temperature CF nylon. That was a big one. For the holster guys, that was a big one. And it just expanded the life of their tooling significantly.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm thinking about these big yachts. A lot of times they're one-off molds too.
Right, exactly.
A customer will want a retrofit for a boat or something. And I'm just thinking I'm sure there are reasons, price to get in, the cost of the machine, but it seems like you could easily use large format printing.
Right. So if you think for molds, I saw a thing the other day.
You
It's
wouldn't want to use ABS, but
this giant statue out in Russia or something, and it was made of concrete, but it was like 3.5 stories high, and it was massive, and it was just a figure doing something. And they said they welded a mold out of steel. So they like welded steel panels together, like, like SpaceX rocket, just imagine that, but in a different shape. And then filled it with concrete and then disassembled that mold. That would be infinitely cheaper than building a custom 3-story tall 3D printer to do it in plastic or something. So, it keeps going back to
concrete printers.
We're better at traditional manufacturing.
Could never do a statue.
That would totally
you could never
change
do
the
a
game.
statue with it.
Sure you could. I mean, with scaffoldings and whatnot, you could get that printer 3
There's
stories
overhang.
high,
Like
actually
imagine
easier than I was thinking.
you can get
before.
a tube 3 stories high.
Yeah. How
You're
far
not
going to
get a
everything?
statue. If there's any overhangs, it's done.
That would be a challenge.
Well, you got me thinking about concrete printing and how I'm surprised I don't see it more, or it's not super hyped up for like being environmentally friendly and eco and temporary housing and stuff, because that's what it seems like to me.
I mean, it's what everybody asks me about when I tell them, oh, yeah, I work in 3D printing. And they're like, oh, yeah, they're like printing houses. That's like everybody's first thing.
But they are.
Yeah, and they are.
It's obviously one of those situations in my mind where it's way harder than it seems.
Right.
The mixture of the concrete.
And
Do you know how they build skyscrapers right now? So what you'll see is some of them will have a scaffolding that follows, and they'll do a layer, and then they'll let it dry or whatever, and bring the entire scaffolding that's surrounding the building up with it.
Yes.
Then up to the next one.
Right.
So it basically follows the building progress. And
Right.
like, imagine you could do that with a concrete printer.
100%.
Print some of it and let it climb itself.
Yeah.
Patent that. Someone.
You can remove supports for the impact.
I don't know. I mean, even if it's just a big cone, you could just keep printing up itself.
Composites. I mean, well, okay, then you throw in like hemp, carbon, or glass fibers,
Or
fiberglass strands into that concrete. Now it can support more weight. Now it's more rigid. Now all these different things that last longer.
Do we need to start a new company? Or so lightweight PLA, right? What if you added I bet this already
foaming
exists,
agent?
a foaming agent to concrete.
100%.
Not as strong by far, but incredible insulation properties. Probably fire resistant. Well, concrete's pretty good at fire.
So then it comes down to the barriers are the people with the money to inject, and then the people with the time to put the time in, and linking those people that have the money with those people that have the time and the expertise and the knowledge, and then getting all that into the. Okay, so that just takes time.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been done yet. Or it's been done, it's being done. It's
probably being done.
Did you see the Starbucks that was 3D printed? They printed an entire Starbucks and launched it. Was it in Austin, Texas or something?
Out of what?
Concrete.
I'm just kidding. ABS?
USA Today. Starbucks opens its first 3D printed store this week. Where it is and how it works. So it's 1,400 square feet in Brownsville, Texas. Slated to open on May 2nd, earlier this month. Yeah, it's basically drive-through and mobile pickup service only. So it's a small building.
So foaming concrete is also a thing, and it is very poor material.
Poor?
Subject to shrinkage, cracking, not things you'd want to use for anything structural. Thought that existed.
Interesting. I wonder what they use
Maybe that could be a
use it
good
for.
infill material.
What do they use that for? I know it's not surprising to see the Starbucks in Texas because they had a bunch of sustainable development housing or something like that where they made some communities that were 3D printed. I think that was driven by Icon. So Icon has a great marketing team because they're well known by us. Personally, I want one of those concrete 3D printers that's only like 2 meters wide or something like that, and so you can build small structures just with the material on the land.
Yeah, that's what I'd be into.
Fly this thing in or ship this thing in, drop it off, set it up, print a couple structures, pack it back up, send it off the next location, using the sand and stuff from where you're at.
I looked it up, and it's for filling voids and stuff, as long as it needs to be lightweight. But here's what the issue is. If you want to be printing around like all day, you're going to need concrete trucks that are keeping it turning. That has to be the right consistency. That has to get fed properly. You're going to need people to be making new concrete. Like, I think it's a whole team needs to come out. But if it only builds the house in a weekend.
So a whole team of equipment needs to be developed partly. So we need to interview somebody who's into this.
Yeah, we
if
should
you
find
are
someone.
out there and you know about concrete 3D printing and construction 3D printing, we would love to have you on this podcast. Lots of changes coming very soon. Definitely subscribe to see those as they're coming out. But we're going to start taking guests. So if you or you know someone, let them know that we're interested in having them out here.
You know, they made concrete boats.
Is
Concrete
it
boats
a
have
common
been.
thing?
Huh? No, it was during the war. But it's been tested. Well, they made boats out of ice and sawdust, pykrete.
It's
Sawdust
composite.
and ice. Yeah, it's a composite ice. Incredibly strong. It's like bulletproof.
So you need a host of machines developed to
that's
support the concrete printer. So you know how the Fuse One has the powder hopper, and it just automatically is dispensing enough powder into the build platform for the next layer,
Yeah,
and it just
there
constantly
needs to be-
dispenses. So if you had a concrete mixer that also had the dyed concrete and the water supply, and you had that thing automatically just creating enough concrete for the next 2 hours
You
of
could
printing
have
or
a
whatever.
truck. Senses we need more.
Yeah.
Mix, turn,
They just,
send it out a
gotta
conveyor.
Got to fill the hopper once a day. Because I know,
That's a good idea.
they do these projects with like 2 people. There's 2 people operating the machine, 3 people. There's the guy laying the wires between layers, laying the electrical, doing different little support things on different areas. And my buddy Clay over at Titan 3D Robotics, right? They sold to 3D Systems a while ago. They made these big, large format, meter by meter cubed high-temp printers for like ULTEM using
That's
pellets. Yeah, they were awesome. Gnarly. They're still doing it. My buddy Clay and Rahul, basically one of the big projects they did was for the Navy. And they would print boats out of, I think, just like orange ABS or something, but they were mini boats and they were autonomous. So they were only like a meter long or so, and they were brightly colored. And the Navy would have these printers on the ship, and they would just print these little boats, slap the electronics and the
drones?
props and everything in as target practice.
I love that type
Oh
of
my gosh.
crap,
Yeah.
especially because I have uses for a large printer. I want a large printer so much.
Dude, I'm sure we can find some pictures of that too.
Because I'm building my
had-
kayak, right? And I
dude.
could just be like,
Yes.
why don't I just build my
Yes.
own little boat?
Dude, they had one at the show.
Really?
They had a target at the show.
They're also using them for, they're printing boats for like unmanned surveillance but mainly for like water quality testing and stuff. Around the bay, you'll see they just use like Ardu rover. You can just use a Raspberry Pi and it can do depth soundings. It's cool. I actually had a meeting with someone about that. Constant water quality indexing. And they were, we have to buy these boats. I was like, you can print these boats.
Well, back to the mold thing too. The Titan Robotics was also printing. They were just printing with Aquasys, the support material, the water-soluble support material. They were printing molds that would then get wrapped in carbon fiber.
Really?
Guess what they did? They just ran water through it to get rid of the mold. So it was a sacrificial mold. Works great. Yeah. So literally just
How you could probably PVA cheaper, but
yeah.
wow,
Literally. You're printing
dude,
with a water
I
soluble
gotta
material.
try. I'm gonna try it.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Because I've been laying up carbon fiber at home too. That's the cool stuff.
Yes.
That's
yes.
the cool stuff.
All right, if
that's
anybody
happening.
knows Easy Composites, reach out to them. Tell them we want to collab. Or
So
go
cool.
comment on all his videos and say you should collab with Vision Miner.
That sacrificial thing is sick.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I would love to get into 3D printing drones again. Not quads, but like fixed
There's
wings.
so many fixed wings out there.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to, they're all doing it out of lightweight PLA, which makes a lot of sense. And there's lightweight ASA. But I've wanted to say, screw it, I'll put a bigger motor on it. Let's do it out of ULTEM 1010.
Right. Do it out of ULTEM 1010. Okay.
Because when you crash those lightweight PLA, like if one hard landing and it's like, better get back to
Yeah.
printing.
Yeah. So I'd like to ask you guys, we try to avoid printing normal, just fun stuff and stuff like ULTEM or Peak and stuff like that because our marketing is directed towards the people that are actually going to buy the equipment we sell, which is heavy industrial users, machine shops, guys with big businesses doing stuff in these materials.
And they
So it's
want
not
little boring
yeah,
brackets.
to the consumer, just no concept for understanding it. There's no context of industrial manufacturing to know why these things cost this much or know why they need to go that high temp or need to know why this is still a good material even though it's low temp but chemically resistant, stuff like that. My question to you is...
Would you watch?
Yeah, pretty much. It's an interesting conundrum.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. A lot of this,
And I would absolutely watch someone do it.
I think
Is it going to help sell our products? No.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, vase mode.
This is our challenge, guys. This is our challenge. Like, it's 3D printing, but we don't sell any consumer goods. No hobbyist stuff. No, we don't even sell PLA. It's all high-end stuff that's used in crazy situations. I learn something new every day that I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
Some guy calls and he's doing something in some country or city somewhere in a cryo chamber, and I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. That's cool. All right, let's get you a machine.
Dental work in hard-to-reach places, or there was a guy doing dental work in Costa Rica, where it's like, all right, I can just bring the technology with me.
Or the Columbia guy printing skulls on the FunMat HT back in 2017. He was printing actual implants for people that had like major skull injuries, and that was one of the first big parts I printed in Peak, and it was for that guy, freaking Freddie Castro. Man, I hope you're doing great. If you're watching this right now, thumbs up and shout out. Because man, that was ancient back in the day, 2017. Actually printing, he got the machine, he converted it to a clean room, ready. He tore out the insulation, different things like that, and he was saving lives in surgery with Peak prints in Colombia.
It seems like the real things that are pushing the technology forward are people who are clever enough to come up with the innovative solutions that FDM could solve.
So maybe we do need to print ULTEM 1010 fixed wings, because they'll
You
get.
just want an ULTEM 1010 fixed wing.
I do.
Well, how about this? How about we choose a material that's excellent at absorbing radiation or something that's good with radar? I don't want to do PVDF.
Bro, do you want to make a radar invisible RC plane?
PVDF, which is what we'd have to use.
It's invisible to radar?
It's very good with radiation, if I'm correct.
Good with radiation or dodging radar signals?
There's a customer. He couldn't tell me too much. He described what he needed it to do, and I was like, listen, man, can I just guess and you can either acknowledge or not? Is this a radar thing? And he was like, you're not wrong. And he was looking for that material, I believe, or FEP. There's these kids in Poland. I subscribe to CPS Drone, and it's build your own underwater robotic autonomous camera drone.
Ooh.
And they're using like Prusa sponsors this, so they all use that red Prusa. But part of these are they have some failures here and there. They're pretty good at what they do. They're really cool. CPS Drone, those guys are awesome. They're young kids. Decided to do this, and they're doing it well. I pay for their course and everything because I'm like, this is awesome. But I was like, man, that whole submarine body out of like how far could you push this? Now, the actual internals, like the watertight things, are like polycarbonate tubes, but there are things there that I'll have to look it up.
Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this.
You got my mind
do an
going.
outro. Yeah, you got the mind going.
I got my mind going. Blew my mind.
We're going to do another one.
And I want you guys, if you're watching this and you have experience or, have something that you could add or even an idea or a thought, please put it in the comments. I know a lot of people are like writing a comment. I do it. And I'm like, no one cares. No. Write them. We want to hear more about this. And if one of you does have experience in one of these industries, we'll have you on. We'd love to talk with you.
100%. Big things coming for the podcast. Definitely expanding. Definitely
thank you
doing
guys
more.
for watching, and thank you guys for subscribing. And stay tuned for the next one because it's just going to keep getting better.
Thank you so much for watching. Pause the rest of your day, and we'll see you
next time. VisionMiner.com.
have a positive rest of your day.
Are we VisionMiner.com?
Well, no, we're
Vision
Miner.
Miner.
We're Vision Miner. And it's easy.
Big thank you for Vision Miner.